shifters, entrepreneurs on the move, with your host, Amanda Barr, bringing you power-packed 15-minute conversations with entrepreneurs who share their stories of shifting in life and business to keep on the move. Welcome to the show. This is your host, Amanda Barr, and boy, do we have an incredible shifter with us today. I have actor, director, writer, and producer Jaret Martino, who has dedicated his life and business to creating awareness for subjects deserving attention through Love Wins Productions, distribution, and his film festivals. Welcome to the show, Jaret.
Thanks so much for having me, Amanda. I appreciate it.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I would love if you could tell our listeners, obviously, a little bit more about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah, I started as an actor as a child, and I got into acting as an escape from my mother's situation. She was a single parent of 3 and juggling a lot of things at that point. And then I just stuck with acting. I was signed with Ford Models and did that for a bit with various agencies in New York City. And then started producing my own content. You know, everything shifted with the industry itself, and I was going to James Franco's program, and he encouraged us to make our own work, and all the lovely women there, Kathleen Randazzo, who was a coach and mentor, and they just promoted to make our own content, and that art is messy. So I really took that and ran with it, and started producing my own work. My first project was a documentary, a feature documentary titled Driven. And, and then it just kind of spiraled from there.
Wow. I mean, it's so interesting, and you have a unique way of telling your stories. And if I understand correctly, you like to tell true story or inspired by true stories, correct?
I do. Yeah. I love inspired by true stories. And then elements of women's empowerment. I really, if there isn't a thread of that in there, we try to find a way to work that in within the story. And then if it's just not possible, if the genre isn't calling for that for whatever reason, I have a good way of finding a way to make it happen. But that said, sometimes it just comes down to the cast and the crew as far as who we're bringing on, hiring predominantly female and minority. So I'm really focused on diversity and inclusion as well.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, especially today and being able to give a voice. And you say that you're creating awareness for subjects deserving attention. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about what that actually means and entails?
Sure, yeah. So again, we're focused on women's empowerment and LGBTQIA messages, and diversity and inclusion, all those underrepresented voices, and just creating awareness for things that often get swept under the rug, that there's a lot of shame around. The past films, in recent years, domestic violence awareness, bullying awareness, and then survival stories just all around. So just really putting a focus on where typically Hollywood feeds into stereotypes and stigmas. I really wanted to create a space for heart-centered and message-driven content that deserves the spotlight in a different way.
Yeah, and is that how your name came about, Love Wins Production?
It is, yeah. So I just I wanted to focus on heart-centered projects, and I just love. It always comes down to love at the end of the day, and I was taught that as an actor. Find the love, even if it's this heated situation that involves fear, anger, sadness, rage, all these emotions that are heavy to deal with, our society tells us to run from, and just kind of embrace that and love it and send love to it. And I think that's, the root of everything, and why we're able to discuss these really, really heavy topics. Because we find the love there, and we find the connection. And I think that that's why we all go to the theater, and hopefully we'll be back there going to the theater. But
right.
That's why we come together as a society, because we want to shift and make changes and talk about the things that we want to know that other people are experiencing the same fear that we all feel in different ways, in different situations.
Yeah, I think, I love that. I love that you're coming from a heart-centered place, and there are a lot of people that are struggling with a lot of different things, but sometimes it is similar. We've gone through these experiences, and I connect with that I love that you're sharing those stories, but doing it in a way where you find the love, you find the strength. And even your own mother's story is such one of a very tough and heartache and pain, but has now been turned to light and love. Can you talk about Donna, Stronger Than Pretty, and all the greatness that is coming from this movie that just released, if I understand?
Correct. Yes. Thanks for helping bring awareness to it. It is my mother's true story, and it's her escape from domestic violence, but so much more. We didn't want to focus again on the domestic violence solely, because it's really about the journey of a woman finding her voice in the world. And I watched my mom closely. I was the middle child, and I am the middle child. and I watched her as I grew up, all that she had to battle, to survive the day. And it was really about survival for the day, because abuse comes in all different forms: emotional, verbal, physical, and financial. And just making her way, juggling, cleaning houses, waitressing, putting herself through school full time. But she never missed a beat. I remember her making dinner at like 4 or 5 in the morning, so we'd have something when we came home from school, and she just covered all the bases. And I really wanted to celebrate and honor single parents, and all that has to be done, and all the extra effort and love and attention. And then I also wanted to make something for the children that come from single parent family homes or abuse in the households, because it wasn't talked about. I didn't have this representation in the media as a child. The other platforms and the other entertainment fed into the stigmas and the stereotypes of domestic violence, and really focused heavily on the abuse and the drama of it. That doesn't feel comfortable to me. It's not who I am. I really want to turn that pain into a positive, because I watched my mother do it through her strength and determination.
Wow. Now, in the movie, when you're showing her strength and showing what she's going through, how do you connect with the kids that have gone through domestic violence? Is there any way to kind of share that in a little snapshot? Because I'm interested to know, too, because of those I know that have gone through that as well.
Yeah, I think just watching the story, I mean, we do have the children in there, and, there's conversations between Donna and her children that are really impactful, and I think, will speak to any child, especially going through that situation. But I think for kids just to have the representation that it takes time to leave, to go from victim to survivor is not an overnight process, whether that, is movie standard or not. It's not typically the way a story plays out in a film, but the reason why I made this film was not to appease Hollywood. It was always to really give a snapshot of, the decades it takes to gain your strength, to feel independent, to find your freedom, to find your voice. All these things that weren't ingrained, this is also a story about conditioning. and how my mom wasn't conditioned in her day. Kids were to be seen and not heard. And if a woman got hit in the neighborhood, it was, well, what did you do to him to make him turn on you like that? So the woman was questioned. All these things that just don't sit well with me, watching everything that my mom had to do to make a life for herself and her children. So I think that that's, such an amazing representation for any child to see that you have to rely on yourself at the end of the day. It's not how movies sometimes depict life. This isn't the Disney classic story, because it's the real life version, and that's again why I made it, so people could really have a tool. This was created to be a tool for families to use, and for people that are men and women, because what we've learned is, although that this is a women's empowerment message, this does happen to men as well, and there's all different forms of abuse.
Yeah, and I think, one thing that stuck out is that time. In a movie, you can shrink the time and they can be, victorious, but I like that you're sharing that, it is a time of healing. It is a time of transformation. It takes time, and that those that are watching this can also see that and understand that, and that, even though you want to change your situation today, and that you can, but it may take more time than you initially thought, if I understand you correctly.
Definitely, yeah, for sure. It takes time, and it's really layered, because people don't just hop into these situations. A lot of people, the assumption and the stereotype and stigma is always asking, well, why didn't you leave? Immediately victim shaming these people that find themselves in this situation, and there's love there. Again, they love this person. They fell in love, and anybody who knows falling in love, it's complicated sometimes, and oftentimes. So it's not just, you don't just pack your bags and leave the house, especially when there's children, especially when it's layered with the conditioning of the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, those time periods where women weren't encouraged to go to school, and they were encouraged to find a man and have their children, and all the things that religion and society, all these things that played parts into the shaping of the psyche, and it's not just to blame on those time periods. It's the hundreds and thousands of years prior that why we've arrived where we are today. And I do believe that said, things are changing, and the film is proud partners with the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. We've done incredible work nationwide and now worldwide with the film. There's 24/7 hotlines, there's shelters. Right on DonnaTheMovie.com, we have a Get Help page. So anybody that's in a situation like this that needs help, just go right to the Get Help page on DonnaTheMovie.com or StrongerThanPretty.com. And our partnerships and all the access to various help, such as support lines, shelters, food. It's all out there. Thank God today that's a possibility. For my mom, that was another motivation, because my mom didn't have all those resources.
Right. Oh, I'm so glad. I was just going to say, I was going to ask you how, because, when people watch the movie or this stuff comes up, or they're just going through it, and now they can go to the website and to your platforms and be able to access the help they need. I love that you're doing that, and being able to connect in all different kinds of help, it sounds like, which is even better, because you never know what somebody might be going through when they have one thing. It could be multiple things. Now, you, if I understand correctly, you launched this, but you actually have 3 film festivals that you are able to share these stories, and not just films you're creating, films that other artists and producers and all these incredible individuals that want to share stories like this with the world. Can you talk more about your film festivals and your streaming platform?
Yeah, I'd love to. So again, I just wanted to create something that was different, that hasn't been done in terms of the film festivals. You know, as a filmmaker, it's great to have a laurel and, you know, receive those different forms of recognition and having these live screenings. But I really wanted to give something tangible that helps propel a filmmaker's career, and that's built-in marketing that we've been working on since day one. So when somebody wins at our festival, it goes out to an extensive mailing list, and then we work with a publicist that's worldwide. They're in Australia and Canada, here in the States. So they also get, the winner gets a streaming distribution deal that's the most transparent out there. I have not seen anything like this. Everybody gets a screenshot of what views they have. For filmmakers, this is really, really important. You know, there's no platform that I've ever seen that is as transparent as what we've built. And it's because we're not focused on making our money that way. We don't make money off of our filmmakers. You know, it goes towards the film festivals and our streaming platform and our nonprofits like the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, CAPS, Bullying Awareness, and Awareness Media. So to get specific, it's the Love Wins Film Festival. So it's Love Wins production, distribution, and that's our main film festival that we have a venue in New York and Los Angeles where we do our premieres. And then we also have Voices Rising, and that focuses on Black writers and filmmakers and minority voices. And then we have drive-in events. So that's a drive-in movie, and we did that for the pandemic. Nice. And yeah, so that one's really exciting. We're going to start that back up in the spring when it gets a little warmer in New York. But you know, since a lot's canceled, it's nice to be able to bring it back to the drive-in.
Absolutely. I think that's a great idea, and I love the dynamic and how you've kind of created 3 different you know, types of festivals, and makes it exciting. And you know, you have things going on all year long, and then being able to have such an open, transparent streaming platform. I'm sure those listening and in the space will probably want to know how they can get connected and get on the platform. And you know, I mean, you've got so many things you've started and moving and have done. I want to know, what do you wish everybody actually knew about what you do?
You know, I think everyone has the Hollywood idea of like the glitz and the glam and the red carpets, and that's all. Those are highlights. But I was just saying last night that that's not what keeps me going. That's not what motivates me. Again, it's nice to have the recognition, but it's really those moments that I know I've changed a life. I've changed the course of somebody's life through a film. And that's just amazing to me. You know, through sharing, Stronger Than Pretty was the short before we made Donna, Stronger Than Pretty, the feature. And we went worldwide with that. And we were at the Indie Lounge at Sundance Film Festival. And this man came up to my mom after the short was completed, and he was sobbing. And he just grabbed her hand, you know, just wanted to shake her hand. This is before the pandemic. And, you know, and he just shared that he wished his grandmother had the strength that my mom did, because she would have been here today if she had left. The grandfather had killed his grandmother. And, you know, it's moments like that you know, just have changed my life, have changed the course and the direction, and just always re-inspire me. I think I shared this in every interview. Another quick story was my mom and I were sitting with the CEO, Bruce Glenn, of the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, and we were speaking at the conference that day, the national annual conference, in front of thousands of advocates. And prior, she took a few hours, and we just had a sit down with her, and my mom shared the details of her story of going from victim to survivor. And Ruth turned around and said her story, and she shared her story, which she talks about very openly. Her ex-husband shot her 3 times and left her for dead. And now she's the CEO, and she's helping change lives, and she's turned that pain into a positive. I'll never forget that moment, because you just, you know, you just are stunned at the bravery. So those are the types of things that keep me motivated, keep me going, and make me the happiest.
I love that. I mean, that's my next question, but that's incredible that, you know, thank you for sharing that, because sometimes those stories, I think, when you don't know what somebody's gone through and you hear their story, and like you said, it inspires you and inspires others. And Jaret, I'm sure you will not know all the lives you will touch through the work you've done and the work you're doing and the work you will do for those that are going through things. And that's incredible. So thank you for taking the time to share those stories. And, you know, I think that a part of that you had shared, and maybe this is part of keeping you on the move. I always get the shifter wisdom. You kind of shared it, but is there anything else, you know, thinking as a kid and going through what you went through, and now you're producing films and you're doing all this, and there could always be the flip side of anything, but has there been anything else that has just kept you moving from maybe even beyond and more in depth from what you shared?
Yeah, I think, you know, the higher you rise and the more you're shifting and changing and doing, you know, people look at that as, I think what they see is bravery. And a part of that bravery is the higher you go in terms of all that you take on, there's an equal amount of pushback and negativity and just people wanting to bring you down. And I think what I'm continuously learning by exposing stories, by exposing my own family story, is that it's really, really important to stay grounded into why you started, what you love, why it's your passion, why you do what you do. Do you love what you do every morning when you get up? And if you don't, change it, because life is way too short. And for anyone in an abuse situation, I have to say what that question brought up for me is it's not your fault. And I think that that's really the most important part and message. It's not your fault. And that there's possibility and support, you know, no matter what stereotypes and stigmas still are present here today. And no matter what anybody wants to say, or, you know, our society is so quick to put people in a box and situations in a box that makes them feel comfortable. But that's for themselves. That's for their own ego a lot of times. That's for their safety of what they're, you know, and protection of what they're not willing, the places they're not willing to go to in terms of, you know, these stories can bring up a lot for people. And that's okay, you know. So I think honoring and loving yourself and just knowing that it's not your fault are the biggest things that I want to share with everybody, and just let the community know, you know, anybody that's fighting for anything, whether it's women's empowerment, diversity and inclusion, wherever you stand, whoever you are, that that there's hope and that there's support, and just love yourself harder than ever, than you ever thought was even possible.
I love that. Love yourself. So many great nuggets. Jaret, you're incredible soul, doing amazing work, and I'm so glad we were able to have you on our show. And I would love for people to be able to, one, get connected with your movement with Donna, Stronger Than Pretty, being able to be a part of your community and really, give those that don't have a voice an ear to listen and a way to share. How do they get in touch with you?
Thank you so much. Yeah, so it's donnathemovie.com or strongerthanpretty.com. That's where the movie and all the links, everything that we're doing in terms of the distribution. We are going international, and right now it is only available in the United States, but we will be international. Again, all those links are on donnathemovie.com or strongerthanpretty.com. It is out through Gravitas Ventures as well, so you can find it on all their platforms. And then as far as the production, Love Wins Productions, distribution, and all our film festivals, that's up on lovewinsproductions.net. That's lovewinsproductions.net, and that has all the links available to submitting for distribution for the film festivals and learning more about the production company and what we're up to and what's coming up and what's out. And then in terms of just connecting, we're on all the social media platforms under Love Wins Fest and Donna STP Film on Instagram and Twitter. And that's Donna STP Film. And then on Facebook, it's just Donna Stronger Than Pretty, the film's title. We're in all the places, and every website has all the links to make it nice and easy to reach out and to stay a part of what we're building and join our community.
Awesome. And we'll actually add those links into the description so those listening, you'll be able to find it and get directly connected. And thank you again, Jaret. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Thanks for the work you're doing to help everybody share their voice.
Oh, that means a lot. Thank you for sharing that, and for all those listening. Keep on the move.
We hope you enjoyed the episode today. We appreciate each one of you for listening and hope you left inspired and motivated to keep on the move. If you think this episode might help or inspire someone else, please share. Don't forget to subscribe and keep in the loop to hear more incredible stories of entrepreneurs like yourself on the move. Thank you for our supporters, RTB Capital Group, Financial Powerhouse, Callcast, and Power Podcasting. Now, get out there and keep on the move.